I don't think it'll be an easy fight for Jack, but I believe in Jack. I think he's got that X factor. He's got that hunger there. You know, he's got the ticker. And, you know, just like with Bilal, just like with Burns before, I think he can do the impossible.
I think Islam Makhachev is going to beat him. I think he's going to become the 11th double champ in UFC history.
Islam tweeted, keep it shiny, keep it nice for me. JDM, I mean, it was kind of like the perfect comeback. He was just like, yeah, come get it.
Keep my belt clean. Okay, so the talking has begun, dude.
If I was Islam, I would have fought Topuria, beat Topuria, and then fought Jack Della like 4 months later. Because Islam will probably want to headline that Abu Dhabi card.
I think they're going to have a lot of info, a lot of study, a lot of answers. It's closer than people think, this fight. I really like this fight. I don't have time right now. I didn't have time to dig deep a little too much in that fight, but I think it's way closer than people think. And JDM has a clear shot on beating.
Islam Makhachev is set to face Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight title, and the fans can't wait to get this fight announced. The MMA experts have also shared their valuable analysis on this matchup. Demetrius Johnson and MMA Guru both picked Islam Makhachev to win. They believe Makhachev will use takedowns and knees to control the fight. Although Ilia Topuria will defend against some attacks, Makhachev's pressure will wear him down. They think Makhachev could finish the fight with a strong body shot.
Who you got? Ilia Topuria, Islam.
I've got Makhachev.
I got Makhachev as well.
And I've got Makhachev second round TKO with a knee in.
Oh, yeah, you going bad rounds.
Yeah, I think he'll shoot a couple takedowns. Ilya will stuff it. Ilya will catch him a few times and people will go ooh and ah. And then when they clash again, I think Makhachev will go grab him. Yep. Ilya will think, oh, he's shooting again. Tie clinch, bang, yep. Body, knee to the head. Ilya's all of a sudden stumble, downhill from there. I think he beats Oliveira with a body shot though.
UFC legend Daniel Cormier explained that if Islam Makhachev captures the welterweight title, it would greatly elevate his legacy, pushing him even higher among MMA's all-time greats. While Cormier already views Islam as one of the sport's best, becoming a two-division champion would further solidify that status. He also noted that a fight with Bilal Muhammad won't happen, as both have made it clear they won't face each other out of respect for their close friendship.
Islam, if he is able to do this, would further cement himself as one of the greatest fighters of all time. He really would. He would cement himself as one of the greatest of all time. I think he's already one of the greatest of all time. But by going up to 170, one of the things that he would not do was fight Bilal Muhammad. And they were very clear about him and Bilal Muhammad about not wanting to fight each other.
Earlier, Cormier pointed out that Islam Makhachev's presence is already making waves at welterweight. He mentioned how fighters in the division are reacting, citing Joaquin Buckley's recent criticism of Islam for backing someone perceived as a close ally. According to Cormier, this kind of response shows that Islam's potential entry is already creating tension and anticipation, signaling just how impactful his move could be for the welterweight landscape.
But then Joaquin Buckley writes, crazy that you were praying for your so-called brother's downfall. That was Joaquin Buckley. So not only does Islam have an opportunity to become a world champion, he's already got guys up at 170 taking notice.
On the other hand, Chael Sonnen claimed that Islam Makhachev did everything possible to avoid a fight with Ilia Topuria. He acknowledged that he likes Islam personally, but insisted that the facts are clear. According to Sonnen, Islam went as far as leaving the lightweight division and potentially giving up his title just to avoid facing Ilia. He said, if you don't fight this guy, we're going to strip you of your championship. And Islam's response was essentially, then strip me. Sonnen argued that in MMA, there's no stronger signal of avoiding an opponent than vacating a title and leaving the division. He also criticized Islam's move to welterweight, calling it a hand-picked matchup and saying credit shouldn't be given for avoiding a top contender.
Islam did everything you could do to avoid that fight. That's just the truth, guys. That's just what happened. I know Islam. Like Islam a lot, it's still what happened. Islam did everything you could conceivably do to not fight Ilia, including leave the division, including leave the championship. Hey, if you don't fight this guy, we're going to strip you of your championship. Strip me of my championship. There is nothing in our industry that is a stronger way to get away from somebody than to leave the division and even leave the championship behind. You can't paint the credit on Islam for moving up to 170 in a hand-picked match.
However, Daniel Cormier had a different opinion, as he thinks Islam hasn't avoided anyone, and now the focus should be on Islam versus JDM fight. He called a fight between Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev a high-stakes and exciting matchup with serious implications. He noted that if Jack maintains the form he's recently shown, the bout becomes even more intriguing, especially with Islam yet to be tested at welterweight. While Cormier acknowledged Islam's physical strength, he questioned whether Makhachev could match Jack's size and natural frame, particularly with reports that Islam had recently slimmed down for a potential fight. He expressed concern about whether Islam would have sufficient time to bulk up and fully adapt to the demands of a higher weight class.
They're going to watch regardless. It's a fantastic fight. It's a big-time fight. And if Jack Della looks the way he did last weekend, it's very, very intriguing fight because we've never seen Islam Makhachev fight up at 170 pounds. We've never seen it. We've never seen him have to compete up 15 more pounds. Yes, he is a big dude. But in terms of full-on stature, is he big as Jack Della Maddalena is? And also, if he thought he may fight International Fight Week, how small had he gotten? And how much time does he have to put the weight back on the right way before he moves up to 170?
Daniel Cormier emphasized that the intrigue surrounding a potential Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena fight goes beyond just the technical matchup. He pointed out that the storyline itself is compelling. Jack has just captured the welterweight title by defeating Belal Muhammad, and now he faces a challenge from a dominant champion moving up from a lighter division. Cormier noted that the buildup is full of drama, tension, and unanswered questions, making it a must-watch event. While analysts will eventually dive into the tactical aspects, he believes it's the narrative that currently makes this potential clash so captivating.
A lot of questions. But it's a big time fight, and we'll get into the X's and O's as we get closer. But right now, we're talking the story. We're talking about a guy that just beat Belal Muhammad to become champion, now getting challenged by a 155-pound champion.
Furthermore, Paddy Pimblett thinks Islam should have fought Ilia Topuria before taking on Jack Della Maddalena. He suggests Islam could have beaten Topuria quickly in the first or second round and then been ready to face Jack by October, possibly headlining the Abu Dhabi card. Paddy isn't surprised Islam skipped fighting Topuria during International Fight Week because Islam has already beaten featherweights twice and doesn't want to fight another featherweight. Still, Paddy notes many people think Ilia could beat Islam, though he disagrees. Overall, he feels it would have been nice to see Islam schooling Topuria first.
If I was Islam, I would have fought Topuria, beat Topuria, and then fought Jack Della like 4 months later. Because Islam would probably want to headline the Abu Dhabi card. Like if he smokes Topuria, like he smoked Moicano and some of the others in the first, second round, he'd be good to go from June, July, August, September, October. Yeah. He'd be good to go in October against Jack Della. If I was Islam, I would have done that.
So are you surprised that he didn't fight Topuria at International Fight Week?
Yeah, but I can see where he's coming from. He's already beat he beat a featherweight twice, saying he doesn't want to beat another featherweight. But, you know, loads of people think Ilia beats Islam, which I don't. So it would have been nice to see Islam school him.
The welterweight fighter Stephen Thompson shared that Islam Makhachev's move to welterweight could bring new challenges, especially given the physicality of the division. He noted that many welterweights cut down from over 205 pounds, so size and strength could be tough hurdles for Islam despite his natural heaviness. While Jack Della Maddalena might have a slight height edge, Thompson stressed that overall physical power in the welterweight class is a key factor. He acknowledged Islam's elite grappling, but reminded that Jack has faced top wrestlers like Belal Muhammad already. Thompson believes the fight would be tough for Islam, but is intrigued by the matchup and hopes the UFC makes it happen.
I don't know, man. I mean, when you're going up to the welterweight division, those are some big boys. And I know Islam Makhachev walks around fairly heavy, but a lot of these 170s, they walk around real heavy. I'm talking about, over 205, 210 to the 215. Some of the guys that I've faced would walk around at that weight. I think like the height, I think they might be the same height. I think JD might be a little taller, but when it comes to those guys and their strength, Islam, I think, is going to have a tough time. Now, do I think he could get it done? Yes. I think he's that good of a grappler. But like I said, JDM has faced some of the best welterweight grapplers and wrestlers in the division. Belal being one of them. I think it's going to be a tough night for him. I would like to see Islam fight Topuria. That's just me. I would love to see that fight happen. But if he comes up, we'll see what the UFC gets behind. And we all know you got to convince the UFC to make it happen. And you do that first by getting on Twitter, shouting it out, and get people talking about it. And that's what Islam did. So we'll see if that fight happens with JDM.
Moreover, Henry Cejudo predicted that Islam Makhachev would defeat Jack Della Maddalena and secure his place as a 2-division UFC champion, calling it a natural next step in Islam's legacy. In contrast, Kamaru Usman expressed support for Jack, saying he admired Jack's composure and believed he had the tools to successfully defend his welterweight title. Both agreed that the bout is likely to take place in October in Abu Dhabi, effectively putting any plans for a matchup between Islam and Ilia Topuria on hold for the time being.
I think Islam Makhachev is going to beat him. I think he's going to become the 11th double champ in UFC history.
Islam tweeted, "Keep it shiny, keep it nice for me." JDM, I mean, it was kind of like the perfect comeback. He was just like, yeah, come get it.
Keep my belt clean. Okay, so the talking has begun, dude. That fight is set. That fight's going to take place in October, Abu Dhabi. I think we all know that. We're no longer going to get Ilia versus Islam Makhachev just now.
Former UFC champion Robert Whittaker also shared his thoughts on Islam Makhachev moving up to welterweight, suggesting the transition might actually improve Makhachev's performance. He pointed out how brutal the cut to 155 has been for Islam and believes his strength at lightweight could translate well at 170. Drawing a parallel to Ilia Topuria's move up in weight, Whittaker called it the million-dollar question, noting that everyone is eager to see how Makhachev fares in a higher division.
Maybe it's I guess that's the million-dollar question. That's the question everybody's asking, and that's kind of the question. It's the same situation as Topuria as well. How good is Topuria, but what's he going to look like up weight division? Same with Islam. By all reports, though, the weight cut was really hard for him, like really, really hard. He's super strong for that weight division, which, you know, must translate well to moving up, making it a little bit easy cut. Maybe he gets a little bigger. It's yeah, I'm very. Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. Everybody's asking the same thing.
However, Robert Whittaker said that predicting how Islam Makhachev will perform at welterweight is difficult, as moving up a division always brings uncertainty. He explained that the physical and strategic demands can shift significantly, making any transition unpredictable. Still, Whittaker expressed strong confidence in Makhachev's skill set, stating that Islam can do everything Belal Muhammad does, but at a much higher level.
Definitely, but like I said, it is hard to try to get like an accurate gauge on what it's going to look like, not knowing how Islam is going to look when he moves up. Okay, it's always the question everybody asks when anybody is moving up a weight division or down a weight division. Okay, there's so many unknowns involved. But saying that, I think that Islam can do everything that Belal does, but way better. Okay, way better. So
Robert Whittaker also commented on Jack Della Maddalena's recent performance, noting that while Jack clearly won, the fight was competitive. He believes a matchup between Jack and Islam Makhachev would be tough for both sides. Still, Whittaker expressed confidence in Jack's potential, praising his hunger, determination, and what he described as an X factor. Just as Jack stepped up against tough opponents like Belal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns, Whittaker believes he can rise to the occasion once again.
Definitely, but like I said, it is hard to try to get like an accurate gauge on what it's going to look like, not knowing how Islam is going to look when he moves up. Okay, it's always the question everybody asks when anybody is moving up a weight division or down a weight division. Okay, there's so many unknowns involved. But saying that, I think that Islam can do everything that Belal does, but way better. Okay, way better. So
Gilbert Burns also weighed in on Islam Makhachev's move to welterweight and his fight with Jack Della Maddalena, expressing support for the idea. He believes 170 pounds is the right division for Makhachev, given his past struggles with the lightweight cut. Burns acknowledged Islam's status as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter, but warned that a fight with JDM could be much closer than people assume. He highlighted Jack's training alongside elite names like Alexander Volkanovski and Craig Jones, which adds depth to his preparation. While Burns hasn't broken down the matchup fully, he sees it as a highly competitive bout.
Islam is working very hard. He's been saying vocal that he wants to go up to 170. I think he's a big boy. He killed himself to make 55. I think that's the right division for Islam. He just tweeted something after the fight that he will not vacate the title, and then he vacated the title. I don't know, but probably that was in the negotiation. Yeah, I like him moving up. I proving himself. He's #1 pound for pound right now. It's a good fight. Jack and Islam closer than people think, especially with Jack Della Maddalena doing a lot of training with Volk, with Craig Jones, those guys that kind of back the Islam on that first Volk fight. I think they're gonna have a lot of info, a lot of study, a lot of answers. It's closer than people think, this fight. I really like this fight. I don't have time right now. I didn't have time to dig deep a little too much in that fight, but I think it's way closer than people think. And JDM has a clear shot on beating.
Islam Makhachev's coach, Javier Mendez, commented on the potential fight between Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena, saying it's hard to determine if Jack would be a tougher challenge, but made it clear that Islam wants the fight and is fully ready for it. He praised Makhachev's elite skill set and relentless work ethic, calling him a different caliber of fighter than anyone Jack has faced so far. Mendez added that the move to welterweight fits Islam well physically, noting he won't be undersized and should be a strong, dominant presence in the division.
You know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say if he's a harder challenge. You know, I just know Islam wants this one. So for me, that's the challenge I want, you know, and it's the challenge that I know Islam's going to be, you know, supreme over, because I just know his skill set. I know what he brings to the table, and he brings an incredible work ethic along with skill set in every area. So, you know, Islam's a whole different animal than Jack's ever been involved with. So if that fight does materialize, you know, we're going to see a hell of a fight, and you're going to see Islam perform at an absolute incredible level. And also, you know, the weight is not super big for him either. So he's going to be a fairly decent welterweight. So Islam won't be a small guy. He'll be a decent welterweight if that fight materializes.
Earlier, Ian Machado Gary was excited to see Islam in his division even before his move to the welterweight division. He praised Islam Makhachev with high regard, stating that if Makhachev moves up to welterweight, the entire division should take notice. He described Islam as an elite, dangerous fighter whose skills could become even sharper without the strain of cutting to 155 pounds. Gary emphasized that Makhachev embodies the evolution of modern MMA, technical, composed, and a threat to anyone he faces in the cage.
And if that man turns up and says, I want to be next, and I think everyone in the welterweight division goes, okay. He's an absolute disaster for everyone in the division if he comes up and doesn't have to cut weight. He'll still be big, he'll still be strong. He's the perfect example of the new evolution of fighters. Great everywhere.
Former MMA fighter Dan Hardy acknowledged Jack Della Maddalena's impressive skills and potential, but questioned whether he could dominate the increasingly competitive welterweight division. While praising Jack's win over Bilal Muhammad, Hardy expressed doubts about Islam Makhachev's ability to perform at 170 pounds. Although Hardy respects Islam's dominance at lightweight, he worries about how Makhachev will handle the physical demands of the welterweight division, particularly the added size and endurance needed for 5-round fights.
I think Della Maddalena's got a bright future. I don't know whether he's going to hold the belt or, you know, he's going to lose it to another one of the top contenders and then pick it back up again. I don't think he's going to lose it to Makhachev, though. I think Makhachev holds the lightweight belt against anybody in the world, you know, on any day, you know, including Ilia Topuria. I don't think if he moved up, he would have much success against Makhachev. But Della Maddalena looked very, very sharp against Bilal. And I wonder what Makhachev would look like as a welterweight, you know, whether he would look as strong and as lean or whether he would look heavier and, you know, potentially gas himself out because he'd be stepping straight into a 5-round fight, wouldn't he?
So this potential showdown between Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena has fans and experts buzzing with excitement. With so many factors at play, from weight class transitions to skill matchups and compelling storylines, this fight promises to be one of the most captivating in the welterweight division. Whether Islam can prove himself as a 2-division champion or Jack can defend his newly won title, one thing is clear: MMA fans are in for an unforgettable battle.